17-year-old Lisa Holm finished her shift at a local CAF-TC and left on her moped. CCTV footage captured her leaving the CAF-TC, adjusting her helmet, and riding along familiar streets. She appeared calm and unaware of the danger ahead. These images would become the last confirmed sighting of Lisa alive. At home, her parents, Torbjørn and Annette Holm, grew worried as she did not return. Calls went unanswered, and the routine path she always followed offered no answers. Watching the CCTV footage over and over, they saw their daughter alive, yet her sudden disappearance left them gripped with fear. Investigators later identified 33-year-old Nerijus Bialivicius as the prime suspect, linking him to Lisa's final hours through police evidence. The quiet town was left shocked, while her parents clung to hope, awaiting answers. Once Lisa Holm was reported missing, the response from the local authorities was immediate and comprehensive. The Swedish police recognized the urgency of the situation. They mobilized multiple units from both local and regional forces, coordinating with rescue teams and volunteers. Drones were deployed to survey areas that were difficult to access on foot, including wooded zones and fields surrounding Blomberg. Officers worked in shifts, ensuring that search efforts could continue without pause. The search was not limited to obvious routes. Investigators treated every area as a potential scene, from roadside ditches to abandoned buildings. The presence of Lisa's moped at a remote location became one of the earliest indicators that her disappearance was not voluntary. It suggested that she may have been intercepted shortly after leaving the CAF-TC. The abandoned moped was carefully examined. Investigators documented its position and condition, photographing it from multiple angles, noting tire tracks, and collecting fingerprints. Forensic teams swabbed the vehicle for DNA evidence, ensuring that even the smallest trace could contribute to building a case. The location of the moped relative to nearby roads indicated that whoever had taken Lisa had knowledge of the area, choosing a spot where few people would pass or notice. CCTV footage was collected from every possible source: traffic cameras along the main roads, private business surveillance systems near the KFC, and home security cameras reported by residents. Analysts meticulously reviewed hours of footage to reconstruct Lisa's movements. The footage showed Lisa leaving the CAF-TC calmly, walking toward her moped, interacting briefly with people in passing, and eventually mounting the moped to leave. Every frame was cataloged and timestamped. The review was nothing alarming until investigators noticed areas where coverage had gaps, locations where Lisa would have passed, but no camera captured her. These gaps coincided with places where it was later theorized the suspect could have intercepted her, indicating planning and premeditation rather than a random act. Digital forensics provided another layer of insight. Lisa's mobile phone, which she carried with her, was tracked using cell tower pings and connection logs. Shortly after leaving the CAF-TC, the phone stopped transmitting signals. Investigators interpreted this sudden disappearance of mobile data as further evidence of abduction. Her disappearance from digital grids coincided precisely with the time frame in which she was last seen on CCTV, reinforcing the conclusion that she had not left voluntarily. Witness accounts were also crucial. Local residents reported seeing a figure matching the description of Nerijus Bialivicius, a 33-year-old man, in the vicinity of the route Lisa had taken. He had no legitimate reason to be near the area, and some recalled seeing him loitering or behaving suspiciously. Combining these testimonies with forensic analysis, investigators began to narrow their focus on him as the primary suspect. Police obtained a search warrant for Bialivicius's residence, where they conducted a meticulous sweep. Inside, investigators discovered items of significance, fibers consistent with Lisa's clothing, traces of soil matching the terrain where her moped was found, and personal belongings that connected him to her. Forensic teams also recovered digital devices, which were immediately secured and subjected to analysis. These items would later corroborate the timeline of events and link Bialivicius to Lisa's disappearance. The investigation also employed geographic profiling. Using the location of the CAF-TC, the moped, and the surrounding terrain, officers reconstructed potential paths the suspect could have taken. They compared tire tracks, footprints, and soil impressions to identify routes that would avoid main roads or heavily trafficked areas. This approach helped refine search zones and allowed the team to understand how the abduction could have been carried out with minimal detection. Every camera angle, reflection, and timestamp became a piece of the puzzle, helping to create a digital reconstruction of the event. Analysts worked tirelessly to piece together the chain of events. They cross-referenced witness statements, forensic findings, and digital data to build a timeline of Lisa's final hours. This included her departure from the K-Feth, the location of the moped, and the suspect's movements before and after the abduction. Every detail, from the placement of objects to subtle traces of movement in camera reflections, contributed to a coherent narrative. Public communication was handled carefully. Police issued statements confirming that Lisa Holm was missing and that a serious investigation was underway. They emphasized that the case involved both ground search and digital analysis, highlighting the role of CCTV and mobile data in modern criminal investigations. Community members were asked to come forward with any information or footage that could assist the investigation. This appeal resulted in additional recordings from private cameras that would later provide minor but corroborating evidence of the suspect's movements. The combination of forensic, digital, and eyewitness evidence gradually pointed to Nerigis Believicius. The timeline constructed from CCTV and digital sources showed that he was in proximity to Lisa shortly before her disappearance. His residence contained items linking him to her, while his movements were consistent with the route and timing of her abduction. Every piece of data, from fingerprints on the moped to soil traces and fibers, reinforced the growing case. Paulus also examined his digital footprint. Phone records and social media activity were analyzed to determine whether Believicius had communicated with anyone about Lisa or coordinated actions related to her disappearance. While no direct accomplices were identified, the digital pattern suggested prior knowledge of the area and timing, supporting the theory that the abduction was premeditated. Following weeks of meticulous investigation, law enforcement narrowed their focus on Blaise J. Believicius, the man last seen near Lisa Holm. Forensic analysis, witness accounts, and digital tracking aligned to establish a consistent narrative pointing toward him. Surveillance cameras had captured fragments of his movements before and after Lisa's disappearance, his vehicle appearing near her last known location, and his behavior raising suspicion. Paulus approached the arrest with caution, aware that any misstep could compromise evidence. Officers arrived at Believicius's residence early in the morning. Inside, investigators found signs indicating his connection to Lisa's disappearance. Items were secured, including personal effects and materials used during the abduction. He was taken into custody without resistance. During interrogation, Believicius initially denied involvement. However, confronted with overwhelming evidence, CCTV footage, witness statements, and forensic findings, inconsistencies in his story emerged. Investigators noted his hesitations, contradictions, and attempts to minimize contact with Lisa. Gradually, his account unraveled, revealing details that matched the reconstructed timeline throughout the proceedings. The courtroom heard about Lisa Holm's last moments, her routine, the normalcy of her day, and how it was abruptly shattered. The prosecution emphasized the premeditated nature of the crime, highlighting how Believicius had planned the events with knowledge of Lisa's schedule and environment. They also showcased the meticulous work of investigators, showing how digital trails, CCTV footage, and forensic science converged to reveal the truth. Defense arguments focused on questioning interpretations of digital data and the reliability of eyewitness accounts. However, the totality of evidence, combining visual, physical, and digital proof, remained compelling. The jury ultimately found Believicius guilty of murder and unlawful detention. During sentencing, the presiding judge underscored the severity of the crime, its premeditated nature, and the devastating impact on Lisa Holm's family and the community. Believicius was sentenced to life imprisonment, reflecting both the magnitude of the offense and the strength of the evidence presented. The case left a lasting mark on Swedish society. Lisa's disappearance had mobilized communities, law enforcement, and media attention. Her parents, though devastated, expressed relief that justice had been served. They emphasized the importance of vigilance and community awareness to prevent similar tragedies. Memorials and tributes to Lisa Holm became lasting reminders of her life and ambitions. Schools and local initiatives incorporated her story to educate others about personal safety, abduction awareness, and the importance of promptly reporting a missing person.